What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Niners News here on 49ers Hive. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Matt Llewellyn, and today we're going to be recapping the kind of plethora of roster moves the 49ers have made recently. Matt, it's been a while since we've recorded, first of all. Let's just get that out of the way.
It's good to be back. It's good to be back.
It is.
Bye weeks are really weird, so...
Yeah, definitely.
Bye week running into a holiday week, which is really weird, so...
Yeah. So the 49ers have had a bunch going on as far as their roster. It was reported this week the COVID hit hard. Brandon Ayuk, Daniel Helm, Trent Williams all went on the COVID list. Also, Eric Armstead, Javon Kinlaw, Hronis Grasu, Joe Walker, in addition to those that I just named, also went on the COVID list. So those players, what is that, like 7 players in total, I believe, are probably, I don't know what the criteria is exactly, but are they in jeopardy of missing the game against the Rams on Sunday?
It's going to depend. They have to have, I believe the ruling is that they have to have like a certain amount of consecutive tests negative, and they have to be without symptoms for a certain amount of days. So they still have time. They announced that these COVID moves were happening, a couple days ago. So they have time, but there's definitely the outside chance that they do miss those games. And I think from a perspective of, it's winter. Winter is a kind of a breeding ground for illness anyway, because people are staying more indoors because the weather gets colder. You're seeing COVID cases spiking. So I think the team is going to play it more safe than sorry. So if these guys aren't ready to go, obviously they're not going to play. It's interesting that Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk end up back on the COVID list where they were on there before because of their exposure to Kendrick Bourne, who was on the COVID list previously, and then because of close contact, they had to go on it. So it's interesting to see their names back on it. And, it's just a reminder that this thing has been, pervasive in everything that we've done in pretty much everybody's life. So, it's unfortunate. Especially on top of the injuries that the 49ers still have. Fortunately, I think Richard Sherman and Raheem Mostert were activated, so they could potentially play, depending on how they do in practice this week. It'll just be interesting to see where the team is on Sunday. It's going to be a difficult opponent. It's just, especially still being down so many high-level players. It's a lot of roster moves. It's a lot of roster shakeup. We've had that from day one. It's kind of almost at this point, turn the page. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a lot we can do about it. We've seen so much of it. They're just going to have to go out there and battle.
Yeah, it's almost comical at this point, just the amount of setbacks the 49ers have had to their roster, whether it's injuries, COVID, suspensions, who knows? But there's always something going on, it seems like, with the 49ers, and it's unfortunate, but I guess that's just 2020. And yeah, we'll have to see how these players test throughout the week as far as their chances for playing Sunday against the Rams. Now, there was also a big move that the 49ers made, or I should say tried to make, and that is claiming Takk McKinley off the waivers after he was released from the Falcons, and then he failed his physical with the Bengals, I believe. Well, the 49ers failed his physical as well, and I was kind of shocked by that because I had been reading, I don't remember if you told me, Matt, or if I saw it elsewhere, that the 49ers are pretty lax with their physicals. They've passed players that a lot of teams wouldn't. Okay. Yeah, I read that they passed guys that a lot of other teams wouldn't. Were you shocked that they didn't pass McKinley?
A little bit, only from the fact that I feel like if they knew he had failed the physical before and they brought him in, usually that second go around, the team is trying to accomplish something. So whether they just like stash him on the inactive list or whatever, you would have thought that he would have stuck. But the fact that the 49ers also failed him on a physical means that his groin injury that he's been battling through must be worse than what we're initially, being told. He's been severely unproductive this season, which, he's been a fairly productive player the first couple of years of his career. So the groin injury must be pretty bad if he's failing multiple physicals, especially on talent-starved teams like the Bengals and now the 49ers with all the injuries. So it would have been nice, a nice pickup. I don't think they would have had him signed after this season. So it would have been really dependent on what you were getting out of him and what you could sign him for, whether or not it would have been worth it. They thought it was. They brought him in, and unfortunately, he couldn't pass the physical. So, it's another dead end as far as getting another edge rusher in here for the 49ers. They're just, at this point, I think they're going to have to work with what they got, which, again, it's almost a lost season at this point, 4-6. I know that the graphics come up every week and they're still technically in the hunt, but with so much going against the 49ers from an injury standpoint, we got the huge COVID list, Takk McKinley not passing a physical, the entire fan base, and us especially, looking to the future at quarterback, especially with the dreaded vote of confidence that he got from Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch last week. This is a team in turmoil, that unfortunately it looks like they can't wait to get till the end of this season just to reset, recalibrate, and see where they're going to go for the 2021 season. At this point, it doesn't seem like anything is working for the 49ers.
As far as McKinley, I was shocked as well. He would have came in and immediately been their best pass rusher. He had 2017, 6 sacks, 2018, 7 sacks. And the last year and a half before he was released by the Falcons, they weren't as productive. He had 3.5 sacks in 2019, and he only had a sack this year prior to being released. Excuse me. But he still is a talented and young player. And I think that a big...
I would also like to point out that too, by the way, that Dan Quinn's defenses have been getting progressively worse since that Super Bowl season. So some of that's not just going to be on Takk McKinley. That entire defense has underperformed. And I think a lot of that is coaching, because if you look at the athletes that they have in Atlanta, it should be better. You would think that they would be better. They're on pace right now to be the second worst defense in NFL history, and that's only ahead of this year's Seattle Seahawks, who are horrendously bad as well. So, who knows how much of Takk McKinley's drop-off in production is Takk McKinley, or it's just a bad situation in Atlanta where it seemed like nobody was happy.
That's a good point. Yeah, nobody really looks good on that defense. But I think another aspect of this that I was looking forward to was if they brought him in and they decide not to re-sign him once the year is over, they likely would have gotten a comp pick for him. And now that's no longer happening. They failed the physical. So it is what it is. Takk McKinley, it was over before it started. Good luck wherever you go. I think he got claimed by the Raiders, right?
Did you see the thing? Did you see the thing somebody posted, like his Twitter messages or whatever? And it's like copy paste for each situation that he's been in. Yeah. It was like the same message for the Falcons, the Bengals, and the 49ers, like right off the bat. It's super funny. Bengals,
ready to get to work. 49ers, let's do this thing. Raiders,
It was literally copy paste with a different team in it. And unfortunately, if that's his work ethic, maybe we dodged a bullet with that one. But I'm just going to assume that social media he doesn't really care about, and he'd rather play football. So best of luck to Takk McKinley, though. You hate to see a guy going through multiple releases and injury issues. So hopefully, he can figure that out.
Yeah, definitely. Good luck to him. Some other roster moves we spoke about at the beginning of the video. The 49ers did open their IR injured reserve practice window for Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. Raheem Mostert has, I think it's not a stretch by any means to say he's the MVP of this team when he's in there. How big is that addition?
At least for the offense, yeah.
Yes, definitely for the offense. How big is that addition if he's able to come back this week?
It's going to depend. We're really going to see if Raheem Mostert is as talented as we think he is. Without Jimmy Garoppolo there, and as much as we, have kind of bailed on Jimmy, it's very clear that he's by far the best quarterback that's on the roster. And at least the threat of the pass is there that defenses have to play honestly. With Nick Mullins, they're going to stack the box, especially against somebody like Raheem Mostert, and we're going to have to see how he does. So it would be really nice if the 49ers could establish the run. I think that would take a lot of pressure off of Nick Mullins, and he wouldn't have to be forced to pass 35 times a game, which I don't think benefits the 49ers in any way, shape, or form. The issue is, Raheem Mostert has seemingly picked up these knick-knack injuries, and even so, he had a really good season last year, but before that, he also had a lot of injuries. He had the broken forearm. He seemed dinged up. He might be one of those guys that just, gets dinged up. And I don't want to say that it's, because he got the contract, the raise or whatever. I don't think that's the case. I just think that he, hit at the right time. I'd love to see him come back and be healthy, though, because he's a dynamic home run hitter type of running back out of the backfield. So I think at this point, anything that's going to get the 49ers excited is a good thing. So if he can stay healthy, I think that just adds a whole new dynamic to the offense.
Definitely. I was just looking at his stats, and it's unfortunate that he is still the 49ers leading rusher, even though he's missed 6 games this year and he has 300 yards.
Crazy.
That's unfortunate.
Crazy.
But
that's almost as crazy as Daniel Jones being the leading rusher for the Giants.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, man. It's going to be a big addition, but at the same time, it's like, is it really worth rushing him back on essentially a lost season?
Right.
I know some fans are saying, Zach, just like Matt said, they're still in the hunt. They're still in the graphic that comes up every Sunday. I think if they are trying to compete, and I don't think Shanahan has it in him to say, let's just throw in the towel, this year's over with. He's going to compete every game, but my biggest fear is that they're good enough to win 3 to 4 more games tops, and then they're just stuck in limbo. They don't make the playoffs, but they also finish outside a top 10 to 13 pick, and then they're just stuck. They don't get a quality premium quarterback. They also don't make the playoffs. There's no point in that. Nobody wins in that scenario besides maybe Jimmy Garoppolo for another year. So let's just hope it plays out in our favor, and in the long term, things work out. What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Niners News here on 49ers Hive. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Matt Llewellyn. And today we're going to be talking about 49ers cornerback Kaywon Williams being suspended 2 games for testing positive for performance-enhancing drugs. Matt, what do you make of this? Is this something to be worried about? I know Williams is a free agent after this year. Is this something the 49ers should be concerned about?
Well, let's listen. This video is going to go live on Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. And let's talk about this turkey Kaywon Williams. No, in all seriousness, I think this is a situation of a player trying to rehab an injury and then taking stuff he's not supposed to take. I'm actually surprised this doesn't happen more in the NFL. If I were to guess, I think a lot of these guys are doing some stuff on the side that they're not supposed to be doing. Just knowing what I know about rehab and injuries and recovery, they're trying to get an edge up. They're trying to rush back. I don't think that he was out there, juicing up with illegal supplements, trying to increase his bench press. You know what I mean? He's had injuries this year, and in a lot of instances, you get stuff like human growth hormone or something like that really just kind of helps you recover, helps you with your injury length and trying to get back out there on the field. From a recovery aspect, I think that's what he's trying to do. I don't think he's trying to game the system as far as, I'm going to be, a tenth of a second faster on my 40 time, or I'm a little bit stronger here. I don't think that's the case. I think that he's just trying to do whatever he can to come back from an injury. And, it's one of those things where it was the misfortune of getting caught. Because I think this is a really prevalent thing in the NFL, and I just don't think that we hear about it that often, to be honest.
I totally agree with that. I know when it comes out, a lot of fans are like shocked, and their mind automatically goes to steroids, like you just said. Performance enhancing. Oh my God! But he has been injured for a lot of this season. Maybe he was just trying to get right. He is in a contract year. He probably thought, let me get back as soon as I can so I can continue to play at a high level, earn my contract. I wouldn't be too concerned about it. The 49ers also have Jamar Taylor, who isn't great by any means, but he's been solid in the few times that he has had to step in for Williams when he's been gone. So he was suspended today, Tuesday, the 24th. So he is eligible to return the day after the 49ers play the Buffalo Bills. That would be December 8th. So they will be without him before the Rams and the Bills games, which is two tough matchups because they have
Really
fantastic
tough
receiver cores if you look at their roster. So the
both.
49ers are going to be shorthanded during those two games. Now, Williams, he's a veteran. I'm not sure exactly how old he is, but do you think this
I
is
think
something
he's
that
29.
has 29? Okay, so not old, but maybe by NFL standards, getting closer to old. Is this something that do you think that might have come into play where maybe his body's just not healing at the same rate that it used to?
That's always a consideration. I also think that, don't forget the reason the 49ers got him. Kaywon Williams was a prized guy in Cleveland before he had that catastrophic ankle injury that cost him time. So the reason he ended up in San Francisco was because of injury. So for guys like that, and I think really just anybody, I've been through my fair share of injuries. I'm not an athlete, but if, a doctor was like, hey, we're going to give you this HGH so that you can heal faster, I'd be like, I'm all for it. People only look at the competitive aspect, the game aspect of it, but like when you're a guy and you're injured and you're in pain, like rehab and getting rid of that pain and getting back to that sense of normalcy, that's a really high priority. And it's not about, I don't think at all. And, maybe I'm naive and people are going to say, oh, you're just a homer for the 49ers. But I don't think that Kaywon Williams in his mind, if he did take this substance knowingly, thought, oh, I'm going to get one up over on people. You know what I mean? I'm shifting competitive balance. He's probably just like, man, I want to get back and help my team. I want to feel good. I don't want this injury to hurt, and we're talking about he had a hip injury and then a knee injury. That affects your everyday life. That's not just football. That's, hey, can I get up and play with my kids? Can I get up and, wash my laundry or, take my dog for a walk? It goes far beyond football. And it's, when you're injured, I think that a lot of people forget the human element of that. And for me, as somebody who's in the medical field, I it's very important to me that we manage patients' pain levels and things like that. And I think it's underestimated how debilitating some of these injuries can be. Unfortunately, Joe Burrow this last weekend had his entire knee blown out. You know what I mean? And people will just be like, oh man, he'll be back in 9 months. But they, the people who haven't ever blown out their knee, they don't know the amount of pain, the amount of effort, the amount of time, the frustratingly slow process that it is to come back. And so, yeah, maybe Kaywon took a shortcut here or there, but again, I don't think that it was anything that was malicious. I don't think that it was anything that was trying to upset competitive balance. He was just had the misfortune of getting caught. And I think he was trying to, maybe take something to get him back out on the field a little quicker and to, lessen that pain in a more expedient fashion.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Taking football out of this, the human aspect that somebody's in pain, if they're being prescribed something, or maybe they're being recommended something. I've seen stories from these NFL players where it's like the 30th ingredient on this, whatever supplement they're taking. It's not necessarily, one of the main ingredients of it, and it just flags a positive test. So I wouldn't read too much into this. I think Kaywon is just trying to get to normal, like you said. Now looking forward to the games that he's going to be out for the Rams and for the Bills. How much confidence do you have in a guy like Jamar Taylor filling in for him?
Not a lot, especially given. So when you look at the Buffalo Bills, Kaywon Williams would be on somebody like John Brown, and John Brown is going to eat. You know what I mean? And then in the Rams, a Brandon Cooks or a Robert Woods or a Cooper Kupp, they all can line up in the slot, which is where Kaywon Williams predominantly plays. They're just gonna. It puts the 49ers in a more difficult position than they would be otherwise, simply because those players are very good at working in space. And Kaywon is, honestly, to me, he's been right there as the best cornerback on this team for the last couple of years. And without him, it just makes the 49ers defense more susceptible to giving up those plays. So I would expect, unfortunately, a lot of those third down plays, giving up receptions right at the sticks, just because those receivers know how to work in space, and they're going to take advantage of the fact that one of the best slot cornerbacks in the NFL isn't there.
Most definitely. I feel like the 49ers have been very lucky to that's a bet on an injury that they won. We saw so many over the years where they took a chance on a guy, high risk, and it didn't pan out. This is one that did pan out, and the 49ers have been very lucky to have Kaywon in the last couple of years. And we've talked about this, Matt, going over the free agents coming up after the season. Kaywon's got to be at the top of the list, right, with Trent Williams, because they are, keystone pieces of the 49ers roster. Real quick, I just want to throw out there, when I tweeted out today, that he got suspended, somebody replied saying that, why? Kaywon is trash. Why is he taking performance-enhancing drugs? He's bad anyway. I cannot begin to tell you how bad of a take that is. Where has Kaywon Williams been bad in the last, I don't know, couple of years? Like, the guy is really good. He's arguably one of the best at his position in the NFL, and he's been injured. He hasn't been hurt. He hasn't been bad. He's been hurt. So I needed to say that. I needed to get that out there. But I think that's going to do it for us today, guys. If you like what you see, hit that subscribe button below. Help us get to our goal of around 4 million subscribers. And like I said, like Matt said, I should say, happy Thanksgiving. This is coming out on Thanksgiving. Don't eat too much. Take a nice nap and drop a like.
Eat all you want, guys. Eat all you want. Football all day, turkey all night.
There you go.
Also, don't forget, Thanksgiving leftover turkey sandwiches with all the stuff in it is the best.
Can't wait. Today, we are going to be discussing whether or not Kyle Shanahan is allergic to rookie quarterbacks. It's a funny question, Matt, but looking at his track record, he's not, he doesn't have a good record with rookie quarterbacks. What's the deal with Kyle Shanahan?
So I think that's a little bit of a misnomer, and I'll kind of explain it like this. When he was in Washington, Kirk Cousins was his guy. They were forced to take RG3 by Daniel Snyder, him and his dad, that is. And, they took Kirk Cousins in that draft as well, and I think Kirk Cousins was their guy. When he got hired in San Francisco, he was just coming off that Super Bowl run with the Falcons. So you're looking at late January, early February before he can even be announced. Then you're talking about, okay, now we're at the combine, right? This was in a period too where Kirk Cousins was being franchise tagged multiple years by the Washington football team. And so for Kyle, it's like, well, I'm on a short schedule here for this 49ers team. I don't know who I have, right? I don't know who the college quarterbacks are. Basically because where I was at, we were set. He was in Atlanta. They had Matt Ryan. Why would he be scouting quarterbacks if he was even part of that process at all, as far as the scouting department? They probably weren't even looking at quarterbacks really, especially not the top end ones. And so he goes to San Francisco late February. You're talking about being at the combine already. You're talking about a position where if you whiff, you're setting your franchise back and you're tied to that guy. So I don't think that with the scouts that were here, that he felt comfortable with what he was looking for and having the scouts kind of tell him which quarterbacks were in it. You know what I mean? So he went with, you look at the early end of that 2017 draft, and it was bad all the way around. Solomon Thomas was a whiff. Their second rounder that year, I don't even remember who it was. Do you remember the second round pick that year? Oh no, it was they traded up and got Reuben Foster. So Reuben Foster obviously didn't work out. Ahkello Witherspoon, he's played, but he's been up and down and can't seem to get on the field this year. So I would consider that a whiff. Really the biggest play, Joe Williams, whiff. CJ Beathard, whiff. So you're looking at really DJ Jones, I think, was a sixth rounder that year. And then obviously the star of that draft was George Kittle. Just on a short timetable, you can't tie yourself to a quarterback. Then if you look afterwards, he's thinking Kirk Cousins can't possibly get franchise tagged for a third year in a row. I'm going to wait for Kirk Cousins because that's my guy. I know Kirk Cousins. I've mentored Kirk Cousins. I think that for better or worse, I think that he could run this offense. And coming off those years in Washington, before he got to Minnesota, it's not like everybody thought Kirk Cousins was dog. He wasn't terrible. He was a guy that you thought, okay, maybe he can do something. He was coming off those you like that seasons. He had something, right? Then they get Jimmy Garoppolo. He wasn't sold on Jimmy Garoppolo. That was a John Lynch, Bill Belichick move. But Jimmy Garoppolo showed something in those 5 games. So he's like, okay, well, I'll work with this. We're going to sign Jimmy, right? Jimmy gets the ACL. Okay, well, this is lost season. 2019 happens. We go to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. He's not the best quarterback, but we went to a Super Bowl with him. Now you see Jimmy Garoppolo again is injured and is struggling, and he's not tied to this guy. So I don't think that he's allergic to rookie quarterbacks. I just don't think the opportunity has presented itself for him to really take a deep dive. And I would be shocked if they didn't do their due diligence. We've already heard Adam Peters going to BYU for that Boise State game. I guarantee you they were looking at Zach Wilson, who I think is a tremendous fit for the 49ers offense. They're going to do due diligence on first-round quarterbacks this year. And if the opportunity presents itself to take the right guy, they're going to take him. So I don't think he's allergic. I just think that the circumstances haven't really presented themselves to kind of lend themselves to getting a rookie quarterback at this point.
You know, I think that's a really good breakdown of it, because a lot of people will say, and I might even be guilty of this too, you know, they passed on Mahomes, they passed on Deshaun Watson, they passed on, you know, a bunch of these guys, which, mind you,
I mean, Watson is guilty. Watson 100%. You knew what Deshaun Watson was coming out of Clemson. Mahomes, I think that's hindsight talking, because coming out of Texas Tech, there were definitely project questions about that. He was viewed as a project guy.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't especially accurate. He's coming out of a air raid offense, you know. I've seen articles written on what scouts were saying about him. He doesn't work under center. He doesn't do all this stuff. People were saying that under Alex Smith in Kansas City, his first year, Alex Smith had to teach him how to call plays in the huddle because he didn't know how to do it, because they had that card system that they use in college or whatever that everybody knows. So I think that Patrick Mahomes is an immensely talented quarterback. Probably one of the top two. I mean, him and Aaron Rodgers are the most physically gifted quarterbacks I've ever seen in my life. But he benefited immensely from his situation. Alex Smith is a pro's pro, took him under his wing, taught him well. Andy Reid is one of the most brilliant offensive minds in the NFL. So I think that Patrick Mahomes went to a great situation. If he had gone to another place, Chicago, for instance, if they had taken him over Trubisky, you know, and that's the thing that I always like to bring up, right? We took Solomon Thomas, who was a whiff on short, you know, the staff had short-sightedness or whatever. What if they had taken Mitch Trubisky? Where would the franchise be with Mitch Trubisky as the quarterback? Yep. Look where the Bears are. They have Nick Foles starting, which is not good. So I think that is definitely some hindsight talking, because Mahomes was viewed as a project. And, you know, I mean, other than Watson, there really was no sure thing in the draft.
Yeah. And, you know, I think as recent as last year, this offseason, if I remember correctly, Mahomes even went on LeBron James' HBO show, The Shop or something like that, saying that he just learned how to read defenses that year. So he definitely was a project. So I think that the hate for Kyle Shanahan for not taking him in the 2017 draft is kind of unwarranted. But I do agree with you, Matt, that Deshaun Watson's another story. He should have taken Deshaun Watson then, even if he didn't really know what he was doing with the position moving forward, even if there wasn't much time going into there. I think there was enough time for him to kind of realize, regardless of how well Brian Hoyer does, he's not the guy long term. I mean, him and John Lynch signed 6-year contracts, if I remember correctly, together. There's no way you can convince me that Kyle Shanahan was thinking, oh, Brian Hoyer is going to be here for the majority of those 6 and starting.
No.
So I think that he should have taken Deshaun Watson, but I do understand why they didn't. I think the Kirk Cousins RG3 scenario is interesting. You don't see that too often. Teams drafting multiple quarterbacks in the same draft. Yeah, especially in the first round, as high as they took RG3.
I think Cousins was like a 4th round guy, right? A 3rd or 4th round guy. I can't remember exactly where he went, but yeah.
So. It's interesting, but I think just like we've talked about Jimmy Garoppolo, it's kind of a broader picture when you look at Kyle Shanahan and quarterbacks in general, because he's kind of just, I mean, other places he was just a positions coach, a coordinator or quarterbacks coach. Now he's the head coach, and this is the first time he's had ultimate say over who's on the team. And it was kind of like like you said, we're going after Kirk. He's even said it himself. Oh, I guess we kind of got, Jimmy Garoppolo kind of fell into my hands. Well, he's played pretty well this year. I guess he's due for a contract. We have to give him market value. So it just kind of happened. But there is a quote here that I want to read for you and get your opinion on it. He was talking about mobile quarterbacks and more specifically college quarterbacks and things that he would like to see them do in the NFL. I think some of the challenges over the last, at least in my career, is you get some of these unbelievable athletes who have never had to sit in a pocket because they could just win games in Pop Warner just running around. They can win it in high school just running around. They can win Heisman's and do whatever just running around in college. Eventually, you get to the NFL, and there are times that you've got to make plays from the pocket, and it's really tough. But I think that there's more and more guys coming out who have been doing both forever. When you have that, and then you've got a chance to do both, and that's why you can see that the league is finding more and more of those guys. So it seems like he's kind of turning the page because he always kind of had a knock on mobile quarterbacks. I think now he's kind of starting to see that might be the future of the NFL, and maybe I should start being a little more open to that suggestion of possibly adding one, possibly this year in the first round.
Yeah. So first of all, let me push back a little bit on he should have taken Deshaun Watson. I love Deshaun Watson. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the NFL. But I understand why you didn't. Again, you're coming in on a short timetable. If you take Deshaun Watson, who, for as he was as sure a thing as you were going to get in that draft, but it's not like he was an Andrew Luck level talent, right? It's not like he was Trevor Lawrence. There's still risks involved in that. And right off the bat, if you're going to tie yourself to that guy, that could be a dangerous thing. I think that he was going the route of, I can find my quarterback, whether it's Kirk Cousins or in the draft, but let me solidify one of the worst defenses in the NFL. Let me get some talent on the other side of the ball that I don't know that much about, because worst comes to worst, if I even have an above average quarterback, I can make that work offensively. That's right. So let me stack the defense with talent, and I can work with offense. As far as, his quote, I think that his issue with RG3 is that, again, at Baylor, you're running an air raid, mainly option offense, RPO, all this stuff. And it's only been in the last couple of years, really, where you see a lot of these guys that can do both. You see a Mahomes that can do both. You see a Watson that can do both. You see, now a Josh Allen who's kind of coming into his own. But you have rudimentary guys like RG3, who is never really a great thrower of the football. He kind of washed out. Colin Kaepernick, not really a great thrower of the football. Athletic as hell, can do all the RPO stuff, but, for what Kyle likes to run, might not necessarily work. And to a certain extent, I think we're kind of seeing that the limitations of Lamar Jackson this year. I think that he's kind of, hit a plateau, and, he needs to really work on his passing as far as precision and going through reads and, looking beyond Mark Andrews as a primary target. If you're a quarterback and your tight end is your number one target, I don't know that you're doing it right. Especially given, you have Hollywood Brown there. Not that Des Bryant is great, but Des Bryant, there were a couple situations last week where, he's a big body receiver. Throw him something up in the end zone and let him go get it. You know what I mean? And I don't think Lamar has that kind of confidence in his ability to kind of throw from the pocket. So what I think Kyle is kind of saying is, before it was like athlete first, quarterback second, whereas now you have programs like Elite 11, and, you get these college guys in as true freshmen who are playing. I mean, and they're mobile, they can move. And you even have guys who, are being held back in their college systems. Perfect example is Justin Herbert, who I truly believe that Oregon held back Justin Herbert from, and you see now he's mobile. He has a huge arm. He makes great plays. He doesn't even look like a rookie. He looks like a fourth-year pro. I mean, Justin Herbert is so good. He's going to be the rookie of the year now that Joe Burrow's been injured. Even to a certain extent, Joe Burrow is a really athletic guy. And when you look around the league and you see firsthand, like the 49ers did in the Super Bowl, what happens when, when Mahomes can make a play, or you play in a division with Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson, where you can see they move their feet. And then you see a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo who, isn't immobile, but he's not he doesn't run at all, right? So when you look at that, it's kind of like keeping up with the Joneses. Okay, I didn't believe in that stuff before, but having seen it so many times and knowing how effective and frustrating it can be, why wouldn't he want that? You know what I mean?
Definitely. I mean, all the broken tackles, all of the, running through players, sliding at the last second. Like, it's frustrating from a defensive standpoint.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine Kyle Shanahan watching that and not thinking, dang, I could be really dangerous if I had that guy on my side. So,
and that's really a credit to Kyle Shanahan, and it really speaks to his young age allows him to be flexible in that way, right? If it was, back in the old school days, like when people like Joe Gibbs came back to Washington or whatever, it was like smash mouth football, let's do it this way or whatever. And even to a certain extent, when his dad Mike came back to Washington, I know we say Washington a lot. I guess Washington's had a tough run, but when you get to a certain age, you become really set in your ways. And I think it really benefits Kyle that he's so young and that he can take a look at the landscape and be like, you know what, maybe the way that my dad taught me how to do things, there's room for improvisation on the formula. I still want to run the ball, but if I can incorporate a quarterback who I can, throw out on bootlegs or, do rollouts or whatever the case may be, that could really benefit this team and create an extra dimension that defenses have to worry about. I think it's a credit to him that he's recognized the flaw in his view on quarterbacks and is willing to address it and move forward. I think that speaks to how good he is as an offensive mind to recognize his own flaws and put his ego aside to go forward.
Yeah, definitely. It's a sign of a good coach and of a good, leader mainly, more generally, I should say, is that they're not, like you said, stuck in a certain way, regardless of what the facts are. They're willing to learn and they're willing to accept and possibly change their strategy and accept maybe I'm not doing it right. Maybe this is a better way. Maybe I can improve if I, sub this for this. So I really liked reading that from Kyle Shanahan because I think he's got what it takes to be a really good head coach for a long time here with the 49ers. And just, he's overcome a lot of adversity in the short time he's been here, but now he's adapting and now he's, kind of molding his offense to fit the modern NFL. And that's really exciting because you see a lot of coaches, like you talked about, they just kind of get, their style gets old. They get left in the past. Teams evolve. They figure you out. So if he's able to evolve with the NFL, it's going to be scary for opposing teams. But I think that's going to do it for us today, guys. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Niners News here on 49ers Hive. If you like what you see, support the channel, hit that subscribe button. We are around 1,100 subscribers right now. We're very close to our goal of 4 million. So hit that like button, drop a comment below. What do you think of Kyle Shanahan and his track record with rookie quarterbacks? And do you anticipate the 49ers drafting a quarterback with their first overall pick in next year's draft?
Go ahead and click the bell for notifications so you never miss another video. Until next time, guys, go Niners.